This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 2nd day of March in the year 2023. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. The office of the People's National Congress Reform in Lethem in Region 9 was dismantled during the wee hours of this morning. According to the REO, the Regional Executive Officer Carl Singh, the building which housed the PNCR's office for more than 45 years is owned by the state. And several notices were sent to the leadership of the PNCR for the building to be vacated to make way for the construction of a health center. Standing in front of the building as it was being demolished, former REO Carl Parker said the move by the current REO represents a dark day for the country.
We have reached the lowest ebb in the history of Lethem, where the police has been instructed to supervise the destruction of the PNCR office here in Lethem.
Mr. Parker said he was informed of the building's demolition by a party official, and upon his arrival, the demolition exercise was in full swing.
I immediately arrived here. Took me about 15 minutes to reach here, only to observe that the roof of the building was off. The walls are now being dismantled by a known thug of Lethem, and he's been ably assisted by some Venezuelan immigrants. That is how low we have sunk today. It's a sad day in the history of Lethem.
And alluding to the president's One Guyana initiative, the former REO said that is nothing more but a farce. In an attempt to stop the dismantling, the PNCR tried to mobilize some of its members in the region.
We tried to mobilize our members, but our members are sleeping. And that's another sad occasion, a sad day in Guyana. Now is when we should come out here in solidarity and enforce and stop this nonsense. The police is going to stop all of us. But it's just two of us out here, myself and George Nicholson. If we had come out here in force, the police could have stopped us. It would have been a different situation.
And in a separate statement on Facebook, People's National Congress Reform Executive Mervyn Williams condemned the move and laid blame at the feet of the government. He said the government operated like thieves in the night. When contacted by news source, the regional commander, Senior Superintendent Raphael Rose, would only say that the police were not involved in the actual demolition of the building. According to the commander, the police force was called in to keep the peace. Offering clarity on the matter, the REO told news source that though the building housed the PNCR office for 47 years, it belongs to the state, and the decision was taken by the government to repossess the building. He said the party was advised on the matter and asked to vacate the building, but to no avail. He also said the PNCR was served with an eviction notice 2 months ago. Mr. Singh said contrary to reports, the building was not demolished. He tried to explain that the roof was removed so that a new roof could be replaced. Asked why the exercise was conducted during the early hours of the morning, the REO said he would be unable to say, since the exercise was conducted by a hired contractor. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say. But now that it's here, it will change life forever. And it is here to stay. The future is now. Transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
At Giftland Office Max, we're all about customer satisfaction. Whether it's clothing and shoes for the ladies, gents, and kids, or for the latest electronics or hardware appliance, we're always thinking of satisfying you, our dear customers. Now you can shop online at www.giftlandofficemax.com or visit us at the Giftland Mall, where we're happy to serve each and every one of you.
At the most critical life-changing moments, the National Insurance Scheme is here to ensure that your needs are covered. Access reimbursement for medical expenses for various aspects of your medical care. We know that eye care is of utmost importance. Receive assistance with our spectacle care voucher. Visiting the dentist? Dental care is also covered under our sickness benefit services. Offset the funeral expenses of a loved one with costs covered by our funeral benefits. National Insurance Scheme. We're there every step of the way.
Get in the game with Buster. Win a full gaming setup, Xbox X, gaming chair, gaming speaker and headset, or any of over 60 weekly prizes like Oculus Quest 2, Mini 2 drone, Nintendo Switch, and many more top gaming prizes. Check below for details.
Let's tell you now that while describing the demolition of the PNC Reform Regional Office in Lethem as an act of state terrorism, officials of the party said the illegal removal and destruction of their property will be challenged in the courts. The party has also dispatched a note to the diplomatic community. In justifying the demolition exercise, the Regional Executive Officer Carl Singh has claimed that the building, which has been occupied by the PNC Reform for almost 50 years, is the property of the state, and the government now has uses for the building. But at a press conference today, member of the People's National Congress Reform and Attorney at Law Darren Wade maintained that the PNC Reform has legal title to the building. Wade said the government will be challenged in court on the issue.
The party will be challenging the PPP government. Yes, the building belongs to us, the property belongs to us, and certainly as a political party we must show example. We don't want our citizens to be bullied, and certainly we will not be bullied by the PPP unlawfulness. The property is ours, and we will enforce our rights in the courts.
And PNCR Executive and Attorney at Law Amanza Walton Desir, while confirming that the party had received a notice or two from the government, said due process was never followed.
This property has been on the asset register of the PNCR from the inception, in excess of 40 years. I will say as well that it is a fundamental tenet, like I said, of law, that one cannot be deprived of property without due process of the law. What I can say is that we are not in receipt of a court order or any court action that would indicate that there is some dispute about the ownership and possession of this property.
Clearly incensed by the issue, the opposition MP said government has displayed total disregard for the laws of Guyana and is attempting to bully and instill fear in Guyanese. In the statement of the diplomatic community, MP Walton Desir said not only was the regional office of the PNCR looted and demolished, but its members were assaulted by Venezuelan nationals who were hired to carry out the exercise under the supervision of ranks of the Guyana police force. The assaulted members have since filed a report with the police.
It must be noted that all of the parties' records, our documentation, and the reports containing membership information, etc., they have disappeared. Office equipment, tools, and other material have been destroyed. And up to the time of this press conference, our party officials have been combing through the rubble to make an assessment of the items destroyed. Importantly, a number of barrels, 11 in total, containing foodstuff, clothing that were donated by overseas-based Guyanese for distribution to the surrounding communities have vanished. We cannot account for those. Another point to note is that the objections report compiled by our agents in Region 9, which was due to be submitted today at 1800 hours, has disappeared. That report has disappeared, and we are trying to ascertain the whereabouts of our records at this time. Now, understandably, this jeopardizes our ability as a party to respond to the deadline that GCOM has given.
Meanwhile, the party's General Secretary Don Hastings Williams, in condemning the act, said it was a clear act of state terrorism.
This action is consistent with the pattern of disrespect for the rule of law and democracy that has been displayed by the Irfan Ali-led regime. Clearly, their belief is that they are above the law and accountable to any of the state's institutions. These actions are dangerously provocative, and it is clear that the PPP's aim is for total dominance and control. Moreover, this criminal action is inconsistent with the Irfan Ali's won Guyana. The party has been in possession of this property for approximately 50 years, and its rights to ownership and possession has never been disputed.
In a statement this afternoon, the Minister of Local Government, Nigel Dharamlal, said in the case of the building, which was under occupation by the People's National Congress, he has been advised that numerous efforts and notices were sent to PNC officials in Region 9 to vacate a government building, which they occupied for political purposes, and they refused to do so. Dharamlal said the PNC was squatting in the government building. And late this afternoon, the Bank of Guyana fired back at the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce on the matter of availability of foreign currency. The Bank of Guyana in its statement said it is an independent central bank with a clear mandate defined by law and in keeping with international norms and standards for central banking. The bank reminded that its objectives include fostering domestic price stability through the promotion of stable credit and exchange conditions. The bank noted the law establishing the Bank of Guyana also stipulates the Guyana dollar is a freely floating currency, traded in a market whose prices are determined by prevailing market conditions, which is to say demand and supply. The bank said the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry appears to be of the mistaken impression that the Bank of Guyana exists to ensure that foreign currency is available to its membership at the times that its membership demands and at the prices that they want to pay. This is simply not how an open market economy operates, the bank said, and is simply not how foreign currency availability and pricing are determined where floating currencies are concerned. The Bank of Guyana said the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce's energies would be better spent engaging either the banks or the Bankers Association, who are also members of the private sector, with a view to better understanding the factors that influence the availability and pricing of foreign currency in the domestic market. The Bank of Guyana said it remains committed to discharging its mandate and to engaging with the private sector on matters of concern to them in a mutually respectful manner.
Traits Management, Structure, and Cashmere Rosé presents Sundress Soiree, Champagne and Cocktail Event, Saturday, April 8th at Everest Cricket Ground. Contribution $8,000. This is a day into night event. Doors open from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. Free. Cocktail hour, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Sundress Soiree. You know the vibes.
The number of deaths as a result of road accidents in the country continue to climb. A 38-year-old man died on the spot today after losing control of his motor car and crashing into a culvert just off the roadway at Bellevue on the west bank of the Demerara. The accident occurred at around 10:30 this morning. The dead man was identified as Shamal Mohis. According to the police investigations, the car was being driven at a fast rate when the driver lost control and collided with a culvert on the western side of the road. As a result of the collision, the motor car toppled and ended up in a trench on the western side of the road and got submerged with the driver inside. The vehicle was pulled out of the trench by a group of citizens with the assistance of a motor lorry. The driver was taken out of the vehicle in an unconscious state with injuries to his head and body. He was rushed to the West Demerara Hospital where he was pronounced dead. A post-mortem examination is to be conducted on the body. He was the only occupant of the vehicle. 2 days ago, 2 other young men lost their lives in a motorcycle accident in Berbice. Guyana has seen a 100% increase in fatal road accidents since the start of the year, according to the government. A wildlife trader from Sue's Dyke on the east bank of Demerara, who was recently found guilty of trafficking in persons, has been sentenced to 3 years in jail. The man was found guilty of trafficking 2 Venezuelan nationals. In handing down the sentence, Magistrate Faith McGusty ordered the businessman, Fizal Shaw, to also pay $2.1 million in restitution to one of the survivors. In a statement, the Ministry of Human Services explained that the restitution request was presented by a senior official attached to the ministry's counter-trafficking in persons unit. The convicted businessman reportedly brought the victims from Venezuela and forced them to work at his local zoo. The ministry said the conditions in which the survivors were forced to work can only be described as inhumane and that they were subjected to substandard living conditions. The ministry, through its counter-trafficking in persons unit, has been monitoring the case since 2018, and it has been providing support to the survivors. The Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindhya Prasad, said the counter-trafficking in persons unit has been working closely with the authorities to ensure human traffickers are brought to justice. Noting that her ministry has a zero-tolerance policy for human trafficking, Minister Prasad said the unit has been engaged in countrywide and specialized sensitization sessions aimed at heightening awareness among the population on the dangers of human trafficking. The unit has also been training citizens to identify suspected victims of trafficking in persons. The ministry has reiterated and encourages persons to report all suspicious activities to the hotline on 227-4083 or 623-5030.
Food Max Supermarket, located on the ground floor at the Giftland Mall, is your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. We stock a variety of imported frozen meat and food products, fresh produce, and pet supplies, freshly made bread. Rotisserie chicken and patties are also available daily. Shop in comfort today at Food Max and let our courteous staff assist you in satisfying your shopping needs. Food Max, the fresh food specialist.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Buster, win a full gaming setup, Xbox X, gaming chair, gaming speaker and headset, or any of over 60 weekly prizes like Oculus Quest 2, Mini 2 drone, Nintendo Switch, and many more top gaming prizes. Check below for details.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up, fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive!
Across the region tonight, a High Court judge in Barbados has ruled that the prohibition of public officers engaging in active politics is unconstitutional and inconsistent with the rights of freedom of expression and association as outlined in the Constitution of Barbados. Justice Weston James delivered that judgment on Tuesday in the case of Natalie Murray, a public officer who sought constitutional relief after disciplinary action was contemplated against her after she spoke on a Barbados Labour Party platform during the last general elections in Barbados. The regulation at the center of the court action, General Order 318-1, states that officers and employees are expressly forbidden to participate actively in politics, including being adopted as a parliamentary candidate, canvassing on behalf of any party or candidate, acting as agents or sub-agents of any candidate for election, holding office in party political organizations, and speaking at political meetings. The judge said the regulation is overly broad, disproportionate, and cannot be reasonably justified in a free and democratic society. The judge also said it is plain to the court that the order is a sweeping blanket ban permitting of no exceptions, and the restriction is absolute and universal to all public servants from lower-level public servants to the highest-ranked public servant. The judge said that sort of blanket restriction does not satisfy the qualification in the Constitution that the restriction be reasonably required for the proper performance of their function. A report by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has found that the Caribbean and Latin America region has the highest cost for healthy diets compared to other regions in the world. In a statement, the FAO said it did an extensive analysis of how many people can in fact afford a healthy diet, one that offers a diversity of nutrient-rich food aligned with dietary guidance. The indicators developed by the FAO with critical inputs from researchers at Tufts University and the World Bank show, for example, that Latin America and the Caribbean has the highest cost of a healthy diet compared to other regions at $3.89 per person per day in 2020, followed by Asia, then Africa, then Northern America, and Europe. The FAO said a study shows that billions of people cannot afford a healthy diet. Almost 3.1 billion people could not afford a healthy diet in 2020, which was an increase of 112 million, the report found. And finally tonight, international news. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has told his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov to end the war of aggression against Ukraine. The remarks are the first Mr. Blinken has made face-to-face to Mr. Lavrov since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion more than a year ago. The two met briefly on the sidelines of the G20 summit in India's capital of Delhi earlier today. Mr. Blinken also raised the case of Paul Whelan, an American detained in Russia. A senior State Department official said the discussion in Delhi lasted less than 10 minutes and that they spoke on the move. It is reported that Mr. Blinken also urged Russia to rejoin the New START nuclear arms control treaty, describing it as responsible for Moscow's recent decision to suspend its participation in that agreement. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.